2 years ago when I started to play chess, almost 6 months. It was more like 5, but almost like 6 months. I was stuck at the same elo level. I was stuck around 700 to 800, and I remember that specifically. You know, this like when you're winning a few games, but then you're going back down and up and down again. That was me, like for almost half a year. Think about this, and it's not even the an advanced level. It was like at the beginner levels of 700 to 800 where I was essentially stuck. Now, it essentially happened because what I was doing is I was sitting down and I was looking for almost every piece of knowledge that I had on YouTube, and I was overlooking something very, very specific. So in this video, I'm going to show you what is the thing that I overlooked when I was 800 to 700, and how you can also focus on this, solve that, so that you could also skyrocket. Most players, when they actually figure this out, something very funny is going to happen. You're going to figure out that your elo level jumps. Like, you're going to be 1 month 700, 800, and then you're going to, in the next month, like after this, if you're playing like very, very, very much, you're going to end up inevitably at like 1000, 1200, like something like this. This happens actually very often. I tried this on myself and a friend of mine, and it actually works. So I'm going to show you this right now. Okay, so here we have this position, okay, played by two beginner intermediate players around 1100, 1200 elo levels. I'm not saying like their names so that people won't see their accounts, because I know it could be quite annoying for people. And so, but still, they're like 1100 and 1200 here. And this happens even there, so you could use it even there and to bypass like the 1200 elo level sometimes. Okay, so here, bishop to d2, okay, aiming at the queen. Okay, so black essentially just took his queen away. Now with this, in here, he has an advantage because this knight is very powerful and is a pawn, so quite a good advantage. But in here, okay, he moved his queen back. Now, the advantage is suddenly gone, because what you can do is you can move your rook here, okay, and move your rook here, and you're threatening the queen. And what you're gonna from there do, probably like kick away this knight from here, and suddenly there's not much of an advantage. But again, we're not focusing on this. We're gonna focus on what happens immediately after white does rook to c1. In here, this is the types of moves that most beginners are doing, and that's why they're stuck at the beginner levels. In this position, black had done the move queen to e7. Okay, and as you can see, the evaluation bar immediately goes in white's favor. Can you guess why? This is something that happens for beginners so often. The reason that in here, white is so much favorable is because he can hop in with the knight, threaten the rook and bishop with the help of the other rook, and then take this bishop. Okay, this is simply the reason that he's now completely winning. White had done the move knight to b6. It's a fork of the knight, rook and bishop, and you're pretty much guaranteed to take this bishop. Okay, so after rook here, just took. Okay, just took. I'm pretty sure that you're gonna find something like this. Probably, maybe not as complicated, but definitely you're gonna find something similar to this, where you've missed like capturing a piece, missed a threat on the piece, and then ended up giving away a bishop or a knight. So how do you actually stop moves like this? Because there's also another topic that we're going to cover in this video. How do you stop moves like queen to e7? If this applies to you, and I'm pretty sure it applies for most beginners, you're gonna ask yourself a 3-question process. If you want, I've already made a bunch of videos about blunders like this in the past, so you can search for a video called The Dark Method to Improve at Chess. This is an example of a video that I've made where I specifically talk about how not to blunder. But the way to stop blunders is actually quite simple. There's a technique that you're gonna ask yourself before every move that you make. And the more that you're gonna do this, the more automatic you're gonna essentially prevent yourself from doing them. You're asking yourself 3 questions. Is my king safe? So here, for example, yes, they're safe. Is there anything that can be captured? This is a more complex example. So if you want simpler examples, you can go for that video that I've just mentioned. So is there anything under threat? Yes, this rook, not surely yet. This knight, so you could do this like little fork here. Okay, so these are the 2 threats that we have in this position, and then you're going to discard moves like queen to e7, because you're going to think, okay, so there's this threat, but there's also this threat, and then you're going to come up with ideas. So for me, for an example, there were two thoughts. We can't of course move like the queen here and there, because of course this of course is the blunder that we've just seen, but we can't move really here because again this threat of the knight. So the two thoughts that I had, like when I started to see this, is, can we move the queen back? We can, but again, later on it would be very possible to threaten this. This side of the board is like quite weak now. Okay, so we don't want that. So I discarded this move, but then I thought, okay, what if we move the knight back? And then we keep this knight safe. We bring back the knight. It becomes a little bit more difficult for him to attack this knight, because, well, here he's very vulnerable. Okay, and we defend from the rook attack on the queen. Plus, we defend from this. You're gonna do pretty much the same if you're gonna ask yourself, is there anything under threat? Is there anything that can be captured? So now let's move to the next thing. So now for beginners to really improve a chess, the second thing that they need to really work on is openings. So let me give you an example. So first, if you don't know what opening principles, open right now with this video, also another video called Opening Principles. Just write it down, Opening Principles. You're going to see something. The first video, just click on it. There are two things also that are very important now: openings and opening principles. And again, this video is of course for beginners who want to improve a chess. If you're intermediate, what are you doing here? So let me show you now an opening that happened for two beginner players at the around 1000 elo levels, and we're going to see from there what am I talking about. So e4, okay, and d5, okay, Scandinavian takes, and knight to c3, okay. And from here, funny enough, this is the last move of the opening that happened here. Okay, so after this, black done the move queen to e6, and yes, it's an okay move, but why would you do this? This stops your pawn from advancing. It's like there's no real sense behind doing this. So after bishop moving, and again, you're doing a move, okay, which is a check, but it also forces your opponent to develop. It's not really useful for you. And as you can see, in fact, the evaluation bar is already in white's favor. Moves like this, moving once, if needed, so is okay, but if you're moving it twice, then why to move it here? Like this is not understandable, because you're checking and it forces him to develop. So after this, and here again, you're developing a knight to a wrong place. So why developing like a knight here? Because this in here, he only controls like two squares. In a better place, like knight to here, controls like the squares of the center. So at least here you're having a better grasp on the center. Even this is an inaccuracy, but it's not worse or as bad as this. So why do this? Computer actually says that this is the best move, but it's still pretty much the same here. White it's still a lot better. And after this, another issue that happened is after white develops, white plays relatively principled in comparison to black, which plays not principled whatsoever. You've done another move, queen to g6. 1, 2, 3. Wait, 1, 2, 3. 3 moves with the queen. Usually, you do not want to move a piece more than once in the opening. And in here, black had moved the queen more than twice. Already you can see how the evaluation goes in white's favor. So the comparison here that I'm showing between the two players, who's playing very, very principled, developing, okay, trying to take a strong control over the center, in comparison to someone who develops his pieces to bad spots and brings his queen very early and then moves it 3 times. This is a comparison. The next thing that we need to talk about, the beginners who are stuck because of blunders and are stuck because they're not playing principled. From this very simple thing of playing more principled, white ended up actually winning, but that's not important. The opening part is the one that I'm trying to convey here. So first of all, playing very principled, having a clear opening, and avoiding blunders as much as you can. Now I'm going to give you like 2 tips for openings. If you're trying to study them as a beginner, it's better to study two openings instead of many openings at the same time. For example, the Italian and the Caro-Kann, the Queen's Gambit, two openings and be very, very good at them. It's better than doing 3, 4, 5, or 6 or more and being mid-level at each. So one of the easiest ways to improve at the chess openings is just to play two openings and be the best as you possibly can with them, and to play a lot less of other openings. So that's the first tip. The second one is to play a specific opening against the computer, and then you can test different stuff and how to react to different times that the computer, let's say for example you're doing the Italian, okay, just do this. What to do if suddenly the computer does a weird move that you're not prepared for, like bishop to e2 to e7, okay? The computer does a weird move like pawn here, knight here. Like how would you react to this move? This is a very, very effective way to study an opening, because you're of course practicing it against something. So playing improving at openings, principles, and to stop blunders. These are the most basic things that every beginner, when he does them, is gonna experience sort of like a weird jump in his hero, because now we are solving the problem that so many beginners, including me, have been stuck on for like so long. Like when I've showed this to my friend, his elo also just jumped from 800 to 1200 in very, very short time. Now I'm gonna give you like also a small list of topics that, whilst they're not the most important, like focus on the first three, but once you do study the first three and does them well, there's also a small list of other subjects, topics that could be very, very useful if you're learning. So I'm just gonna name them. And what I expect you to do is, first of all, study the first three. Once you do that well, and you level up to 1000, then you can also add 6 more important topics, which are rooks on the 7th rank, pawn structure, king safety, shedding pieces, open files, and then centralization. So these are the 6 more important topics after like these 3. So this is essentially like all the things that I have to specifically, if you're a beginner and you want to improve, how to actually do it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I will do my best to answer most of them. Also, something that you can do is, if you really want to improve a chess from beginner, especially to intermediates, you can consider, there's a link in the description where you can book on a sales call with me, and I will show you the sort of like program, the plan that I have for chess beginners who want to improve to there. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.